This is another video in the series for Sheldon. Sheldon is considering migrating from his old laptop computer to a new laptop computer. I actually have both computers in my lab right now for the purposes of performing the upgrade. There's a number of issues that we've discovered that we're having to question how we're going to go about doing this. And so in this video, I want to focus on the subject of Sheldon is using Outlook as his primary email interface and calendar and contacts. However, he's using a Google account. His email account is hosted by Google, not hosted by Microsoft. And he needs the calendar and the contacts from the Google Suite applications available in Outlook. So Google, quite a long time ago, came up with this method to use an additional piece of software that's currently called Google Workspace Sync for Microsoft Outlook. It has had other names in the past, and when it first came out, I was using it a lot because I was very much hooked on using Outlook. I didn't like using the Gmail web interface, but I have since transitioned to using the Gmail web page interfaces. And Sheldon's computer now has a few problems that are caused by the use of this Google Workspace Sync. So I want to show what those problems are. These difficulties has been, I believe, part of what has caused Sheldon to feel that he needs a new computer. And he still might. So to start with, I'm going to show you what's happening on his old laptop in relation to Outlook. Now, I'm not going to show launching Outlook because it takes 5 minutes for it to fully load and resolve the problems that currently exist. So let's go have a look at his computer. Let's see if I get the right button. Here we go. So if I come over to the system tray in the bottom right corner, all these little icons, and click on that overflow menu button, there is an icon in here for Google Workspace Sync. And it says synced with errors. So there are currently errors. Now we see that animated circle going around. That means it's trying to sync again. If I left click on that, and then I've got to move my picture-in-picture out of the way. Then come up here to view sync status. This screen right here in the middle, you don't see an outline around it, so I'm going to drag it around a little bit so you can grasp where it is. These green bars indicate that Google Contacts has synchronized, Google Calendar has synchronized with errors, and then Google Mail has synchronized. So if we click on this details for synced with errors, we'll get an idea of what's going on in regards to errors. So each line here is a calendar error. So there's things coming up with 4:42 p.m. That's indicating the time that it encountered the error, or that the Google Sync discovered there's an error. If I scroll down here, we'll see that those times become earlier and earlier in the day. They're only going to show up during times when I actually had Outlook open on this computer. But each one of these is another attempt to resolve that error. So every time that Google Workspace Sync for Microsoft Outlook tries to resolve that error, the computer is distracted with that task and it's working on that task. Now it only goes to show us the errors for today. I think that errors from previous days are gone. Now you just saw those green bars go again. That was this application trying once again to resynchronize. And it actually did synchronize most of the contacts and calendar and mail items except for the error. So that keeps happening over and over. Every time it happens, it's an interruption to the computer. So if you're trying to use the computer for some other process or procedure, such as something that Sheldon's been doing lately is video-based podcast. So if he has Outlook open while doing a video-based podcast, the computer's attention is being diverted to this process every so often. So here we have several items during 4:43. Now I haven't looked in these to see if these are all the same item happening over and over again. Here you see it going again. And it's downloading new mail, verifying messages. So a lot of stuff going on here. And that's just putting extra load on the computer. So that's one problem with his Google Workspace Sync for Microsoft Outlook. Now let's go look at another problem. If I come down here again to that icon in the system tray and right click on this icon and then choose mailbox size limit. His mailbox size limit is set to unlimited and it says that's the slowest, meaning it's going to slow the computer down, it's going to operate slow. So Outlook is going to operate slow because of that choice. Now I really wish they wouldn't have changed these borders like that. That's kind of been a thing. Go back to mailbox limit. I was trying to drag that window. Okay, there's the X. So this is the title bar for that window. Yeah, so I want to bring it out here. I wonder if I can actually minimize Outlook. Yeah, there we go. So that's easier to view this window. So what this does, it says choose how much mail to store on your local computer. Microsoft Outlook runs faster with a smaller local mailbox. Note that all your mail is available from the Google Mail web interface, regardless of what you set here. You cannot set a mailbox size limit smaller than the current size of your mailbox. So we cannot go back to a smaller size than what we currently have. If we wanted to do that, we would have to uninstall the Google Workspace Sync for Microsoft Outlook and then reinstall it and then reinitialize the synchronization to get back to a small local store. Now what all this means is how old of an email is Sheldon going to be able to see in Outlook? I've had other clients who were set up with this, and some I think that still are. And when it's set on 1 or 2 gigabytes, Outlook operates much better, quicker. However, if they want to find an email that is older than what is stored on the local drive, they have to go to the Gmail interface to find those older mail messages. And there may be one way around that, but that is the most reliable way to do it. So typically what happens is once a person starts using this Google Workspace Sync for Microsoft Outlook, over a period of time, it gets fuller and fuller and fuller, and they're taking email messages with larger attachments, and their overall mailbox storage size gets really large, yet they want to be able to go back to very old messages. And that's probably how this setting got eventually adjusted to being unlimited. Now I want you to remember 1 gigabyte, 2 gigabytes, and 4 gigabytes we're going to go take a look at how large is the local file for Outlook on Sheldon's computer. So to do that, I'm going to go back into Outlook, and in this left-hand panel, I'm going to scroll back up to the top. See, where is that scroll bar? See, with this, there it is, way down there. I'm going to drag it up to get to the top, and then up here on Google Workspace, I did a right click on that and then choose Data File Properties. And then I'm going to choose Folder Size. And after a little bit of calculations here, it's going to determine the size of that folder. Now there's another way that I can get to that size that is quicker, but this is a little more convincing. And this went pretty quick, I think probably because I did it earlier today. So this shows us the size of all his various folders, and Sheldon does an excellent job of putting emails into relevant folder names, but over the years he's developed quite a lot of folders. Now this number up here is what shows the current size of his folder. So remember, we were looking at 1 gigabyte, 2 gigabytes, 4 gigabytes for faster operations, but this is showing the size that's on his computer. So we start with kilobytes. So when we get to the fourth digit, and I know that's really tiny, we get to the fourth digit, that 5 right there, that's megabytes. And then we count over 3 digits worth of megabytes, and then we get into gigabytes. So what we have there is 48 gigabytes. Instead of the smaller numbers that this application wants a person to be using of 1, 2, or 4 gigabytes. And we're at 48 gigabytes. Now, that doesn't translate precisely to 48 gigabytes. I'm not going to bother with being that precise about the math. But you can see the amount of email and calendar items and contacts that are stored here are very, very large. Now, if I right click on that Google Workspace and then click Open File Location, that'll take us to the actual file on Sheldon's computer. There's a flashing icon down here for File Explorer. I'll left click on that to bring that up. And it takes 5 different files to coordinate this synchronization for Google. But here's that size of that file. When we read it this way, we see it as 49 gigabytes. So it's really, really big. So that is a source of trouble. Now there's another one that's having a source of trouble here for Outlook, is this send receive error down here. Every time Outlook tries to do another send receive, there it's doing it right there. It's sending message 1 of 1. And that's going to fail. It's been saying that all day long. So let's come over here to the Outbox. In this list of folders here, we can scroll down alphabetically to get to the O's. These are all A's right here. So I'm going to drag this scroll box down to get to the O's. We're looking for Outbox. The Outbox contains emails that are waiting to be sent. And in brackets right here, we see the number 3. I'm going to single left click on Outbox. And now we see that there are 3 messages sitting in the Outbox. The oldest was November 18th, 2020, and then February 11th, 2021, and March 1st, 2021, and today is March 7th. Okay? So for whatever reason, these messages are failing to go out, and they need to be deleted in order to clean that up so that Outlook doesn't keep trying to resend them, because every time it tries to send these messages and then it fails, well, it tries again. Now, it's a little curious to me that it said sending one message when there's 3 in here that are clearly waiting to go out. If I double click on one of these messages to open it, you know what, I don't know what this message is, so I'm going to switch to a different camera view before I double click on that. Interesting. Because I set up my video production a little differently today, I got to do another little click here in order to do this right. So let's go take a look here, and let's see here. There we go. Now this allows me to be able to see the content. Oh, all right, I see. It's going to be an interesting... Oh, okay. So yeah, I see the explanation why we're only seeing one email trying to go out. So let's bring this back on for you to see. And then I'm going to click another button here so that I see this right. So we're only seeing one email trying to send because this one is an email. These two are calendar items. So there's something that has failed to synchronize about these calendar items. Oh, that's right. We had a synchronization error regarding calendar items, didn't we? Let's go back over here and view sync status. Yeah, that was calendar where we had errors. So simply deleting these two should turn off those errors. And then this email was from March 1st. So I don't want to go into that email because I don't know what else is contained in there, but that needs to be cleaned up. So the bottom line here is that with using Outlook and Google Workspace Sync from Microsoft Outlook, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. And that's what has happened here for Sheldon, is some things are going wrong and it's causing some performance issues on his computer. So what I'm going to be proposing to Sheldon is that he switch over to the Gmail way of doing things with Gmail, mail, calendar, and contacts, because that's how it is designed to work. Now, what I have found most of the time when people resist going to that is that they've gone to look at it and it's just a foreign experience. There's different ways of doing things. And that's true if you don't know how to configure the Google Suite environment to be more similar to Outlook. So that's the next video that I intend to do, is to show how I'm going to set up the Google Chrome tabs for Sheldon so it's a lot closer to what he's used to in Outlook. And then we're going to have him try that for a few days and see if it doesn't work out better. So I think that'll be it for this video. If you'd like to request a free computer support session, send an email to me. The email address is on your screen right now, DougBetts at LiveWindowsTraining.com. Give me an ID in the body of the email, what you'd like to have help with, and we'll put it together. So I hope this video has been useful and informative to you. Have a great day. Catch you later. Goodbye.